Hey guys, how we doing? It's Barstool RDT here with the eighth episode of the BarstoolDMV Baltimore podcast. I'm joined here as always with Banks. How we doing, Banks?
Doing okay. Just got back from Los Angeles. Nice little weekend out there. Got to booze a little bit in the sun. Wasn't quite as hot as I thought it would be, but it's still good to get out of what is coldest week it's been all year around here. So it's been difficult getting reacclimated, but gotta power through.
Yeah, well, I guess we can start this off. You got to watch a nice little game, Terps game out in LA, didn't you?
Yeah, it was something else. The Wisconsin Maryland game out there was at brunch. It was like 10:30 in the morning. So
That sounds so awesome to just wake up and be able to watch a Maryland basketball
it
game.
was Maryland, Wisconsin, and Rangers caps at the same time. Had a reason to get up and go to the bar, go to brunch. Got real boozed up, mimosas, the whole ordeal. Um, something I learned about LA, by the way, is that since there's no NFL team there, or there wasn't a week ago, the bars there are just have
There
loyalty to
wasn't.
whatever team. Like there's every single bar has a designation for whatever sports team or whatever. So there's fans there for this reason, that reason, whatever. And so it kind of trickles down to the rest of the sports. Well, I'm in there. It was actually at a Patriots bar. It just happened to be, which I didn't know when I walked in there. But um, I mean, that part's not really here nor there for the whole Maryland and Caps thing. But just watching both those teams go to the wire and the Caps with a comeback, but both of them pull out wins as in that kind of fashion in about a half hour span was pretty glorious. It was your classic moment where I just yell out loud in a bar that's otherwise pretty calm and nothing much going on. Like everyone, like most sporting events hadn't started yet. NFL wasn't going to be on for an hour and a half or so, and I'm just yelling at the TV, like losing my mind that Wisconsin hit a three to tie it, and I'm like, standing with my hand on top of my head, like just freaking out, and then Melo just shoots like a 25-foot bomb right in that poor kid's eyeball. Oh, it was so unfortunate for that kid, but
Yeah, I mean the kid played good defense too. I'm blanking on his name, but it was almost like the second he let that shot go, you knew it was good. It was onions all the way.
oh
It
yeah,
was
he's squared up.
fantastic to watch.
He had that look when he let it go. It's so yeah. I mean that part was a ton of fun. And obviously I think it was even better, like changing attention to the other game and being like, whatever. The Rangers like came back and tied it and took the lead, and I was just kind of like, fuck it. We got the basketball game, whatever. Not a big deal. And then of course they tied up, and Ovechkin scores a sweet overtime winner. So just a really good morning/afternoon there.
Yeah, that's a nice little, like you were saying, I kind of was in that same boat. I saw Maryland win. I was all pumped from that, and I saw Caps go down. I figured, whatever. It's all right. I'll take the Terps win. And then next thing I know, boom, boom, Caps going to overtime, beat Lundqvist. So that was awesome. No, it was great to see Melo come back. Not suffering any setbacks or from that hamstring injury he had against Rutgers. I went to that game, got snuck in the student section thanks to our boy Vinny. That was awesome. You could see
Sweet.
that. Yeah, it was cool. You could see when he hurt his hamstring, everyone right away was just said, shut him down. We don't want this. We don't want this to be a 3 or 4 week injury as opposed to a 2 or 3 game injury. Turned out that it wasn't any game. He missed half of the Rutgers game, so I was all right with that. No, I mean the Wisconsin game. Besides from Melo, I guess the big storyline was the Diamond Stone homecoming, which I thought he handled it great. He handled it great. I mean, he had 11-4. They were chanting stuff at him all game. You can't read. They're talking about his ACT scores, his SAT scores, shit like that. Just trying to get in an 18-year-old's head. Didn't work, which I thought was great to see that he didn't let it get to him, because any other 18-year-old, that probably would have really got to him, pissed him off, got him off his game. And I still don't think the Diamond Stones lost a game in that building, because I heard that he won all 4 state championships in that building as well. So that was good to see. Carter, put up his normal 14-11, which is he seems like he's doing every game now. Dodd even had a good first half. He had a big dunk. Layman, we'll talk about this a little later. I think he was quiet, 4 points in 35 minutes. So that's kind of the Layman that we got to know, except for the last game.
So,
But
something I want to touch on Diamond Stone, the whole SAT score was why he didn't go to Wisconsin thing is the most fabricated bullshit that anyone has ever come up with. It's just the biggest spilt milk, cry in your syrup bullshit that these Wisconsin people have come up. And see, if you are one of those people that love to brag about your school's like academic prestige and you're really just like, a public university, a state university, you're just an asshole. You're an asshole through and through. But if they're going to play that way, let's just look at the fact that they're pretty even, if not like Maryland's probably a better school than Wisconsin academically. I know I'm just like contradicting exactly what I just said, but fuck that whole narrative. It is just complete and utter bullshit.
I agree. If Diamond Stone wanted to go there, he would be there right now. If he really wanted to be there, they would have, whatever his SAT or ACT scores were, they would have found a way to get him in. He would have been there. I agree with you. It's bullshit. He didn't want to go there. He wanted to come to Maryland, and he's here. And yeah, like you're saying, I would think Maryland's a better school than Wisconsin anyway.
They're pretty even, I guess. I don't know. It depends on what you look at, but whatever. Who really cares? Like, they have academics, we have academics. They've got sports, we've got sports. We're talking about sports. We got the player we wanted. They didn't, right out of their backyard, which I think the best tweet I saw after the game was some Maryland fan chirped the Wisconsin student section that was, like, chirping about Diamond Stone's academic bullshit and said, but it's really great when you get to retain homegrown talent, and it was a picture of Melo like in his shooting form after making that shot. So it's just a perfect.
I did see that. That was from the Turgeonites. So.
Oh yeah, dude.
I love that salt being thrown.
Tip of the cap to them on that one.
Yeah, that was a good tweet. So we go from that. I thought it was a really big win. A lot of momentum there. Pushed them to 15-1. Then they come back last night. They play Michigan. Kind of scared me. It was a weekday road game, in the Big Ten. Show up to Michigan, and it almost looked like that they were going to get the doors blown off them. Freaking Macklemore lookalike Duncan, whatever his name, Robinson, he wasn't missing in the first half. He was nailing everything. They ended up getting upset by Michigan, 70-67. It looked like probably overall their worst game of the year. Take away that the first 10 minutes against North Carolina. But yeah, they just didn't look into it early in the game. Everyone kind of looked off. Melo got in foul trouble early. That forced Varun to play a lot of minutes, which you never really want to see. I like Varun a lot, but he's not a guy that you want playing 14, 16, 18 minutes
shooting
a game.
2-3 attempts is not what you want to see.
It looked painful. It looked like I was shooting. They just weren't good. Like I said, they went into the half down 8, and it kind of they crawled back. They obviously had a chance to tie it at the end, but it didn't really seem like they were gonna win that game at all.
It feels like there were a lot of different reasons why they didn't win that game, and they were bound to lose. I said on Bobby's Storm the Court podcast that I saw them losing one of these two games. I just saw that the back-to-back on the slate, that's probably when they were going to lose their first conference game. And, after they beat Wisconsin, I felt like they had a good chance, especially with LeVert out for Michigan, that they were going to win the second one. But they came out kind of flat, and Melo got into his foul trouble and didn't really get into a rhythm at all. Another interesting thing that I'm kind of noticing is that it seems like when we're up against the ropes is when Diamond Stone really turns it on. How can we activate him in a way where he's dominating for 35 minutes of a game and not only 15, 20 minutes of the second half once we're down? And then the other part is I find it interesting that he's having these second halves, and usually you got to get back into games with you got to get back in with threes, you got to get him at big buckets, and we're getting back into games with him just like making his layups, and he's making a fair amount of and ones, but
yeah, that's what I was going to point out. His and ones, it seems like he's getting to like 2 or 3 a game almost.
It's really impressive. And how can we get him to be that dominant throughout the game and not just like when we need it? It's really great that he has that gear, but how can we, have him firing all cylinders all the time?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it is because him. I don't know. It is because he's coming off the bench, which I like. I'll take him coming off the bench. I think that fits him well.
Sure.
But maybe if he starts, it'll kind of give him that fire, to go the a 35-minute game, 30-minute. and give us everything he has. Maybe Turgeon sees something, something in practice that we're not seeing, but I'm not one to double to question what he's doing. But yeah, I mean, he threw in 22 and 11. He's arguably becoming one of the best big men in the country. Still just a freshman. He's 17, 18 years old, not finished growing. We are seeing more of the elbow game that I think you talked about that 2 weeks ago or last week that Turgeon was talking about. That he can shoot it from out there, and we're seeing that now. He made some last night and even in the Wisconsin game, so that's good to see. Carter had 15 and 3 that game last night. 3 rebounds kind of surprised me. I thought he would.
Right, I felt like Layman was really cleaning up the boards throughout the game.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to touch on. Layman, 7 for 10 shooting. I think he made his first 6. He had 18 points, 10 boards. So it was great to see Layman finally come through. Just with something that they need. I mean, you go back and you look at his last 7 games, the point totals, it goes 19, 8, 8, 9, 18, 4, and 18. So we kind of saw some consistency there, but then he'll give you a 4-pointer sandwiched in between 2 18-pointers. So if we can get more of that, if we can, if he's putting up, 12 to 14 a game, I think that's going to make this team be a lot better. They're going to click more. And then they just need to get more out of Nickens too. We talked about this a little last night on text. He's just been ice cold. He's averaging less than 6 points a year. Hasn't scored over double digits since December 12th. They're going to need him, to pick up some type of slack.
Right. I don't know if it feels like we've swapped those two out. I don't know if they can really coexist. It's I'm not saying that based off of anything other than the fact that they haven't coexisted. Can we only have one in rhythm at the same time? Are there enough shots to go around with the other guys on the floor where Layman and Nickens can both be coming off of screens and shooting the 3 well, or do they both need just like their fair share in order to get into a rhythm to make shots? It's an interesting question, I think, moving forward. And I think Layman obviously is he's the more talented player. He's the more polished. He brings more to the table. Nickens is poor defensively, to say the least. Yeah. Whereas Layman has length, he can rebound, he can do all those different things. So I think if we're going the Layman route, that's a better route, but I'm curious whether or not we can get Nickens back in the groove here with Layman doing what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I think there are enough shots for both of them. I think Melo's a good enough distributor where he can find both of them, plus he can dish it to Rashid, or he can find Stone or Carter for a shot. But yeah, it seems like, they're both very streaky shooters. If they miss their first few, they're done for the night. Who was it? Nickens had a shot last night, I think, that hit off the side of the backboard, and right when he shot it, Tarico just goes, "Oh wow."
Oh yeah,
that was terrible. So they got to find a way to, like you were saying, somehow get them both into a rhythm, get them shooting more consistently. And yeah, like we were talking about with Layman, we talked about this a few weeks ago. His defense, I think, has kind of saved him because we trashed him early on hard, and I don't think he deserved all that. He's doing the stuff that doesn't show up in the box score. He's diving for balls. He's boxing out. He's changing a lot of shots. He's altering shots, not necessarily blocking them. He has had a good amount of blocks the last few weeks, but he's altering shots now, which is helping. It's giving the defense obviously help. So it's good to see him getting into it. Hopefully he's fired. Like I said, over the long run, I'm not too worried about the team. Like you said, they were going to lose. It's not college football. You're not going to go undefeated. You're going to lose some games in the conference overall. The only big thing to worry about is, I guess we saw last night, if Melo gets hurt or if he's in foul trouble, because the Wiley injuries is kind of starting to show in games like this where you don't have that backup point guard who you can feel confident in to control the ball while Melo's out. Because when Varun had the ball last night, or when he didn't have the ball, it was almost like they were playing 4-on-5.
Absolutely, he was just hiding in the corner. They were offering the 3 to him, and a few times he turned down after missing the first one, and then he was like, if I make one here, not only do I make an open 3, but they have to respect me again. And he hesitated, and then he shot it, and it was another miserable attempt. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to hate the fact that he shot that after missing one already, but I get where his mind's at, and
Yeah.
I can forgive it.
Yeah. So, like I said, the Wiley injury, I think, is now showing why he was valuable. And I don't know, we'll see. They're home for their next two versus Ohio State and then Northwestern. So that, and I don't want to say anything's a cakewalk anymore, but they should. Those are two winnable games. I think we saw how they dominated Northwestern, 2 weeks ago. So Ohio State coming up next should be a good game. So I think they're still 15-2, number 3 in the rankings. Probably dropped down now, but I guess their loss last night wasn't that bad considering it got overshadowed by the Kansas loss to West Virginia. So
Right.
we could kind of hide behind that.
Sure.
All right, so we'll go into the Caps now. We've said the same thing about them every time. I feel like they just keep on winning. 32-7-3, second in the league in goals per game, second in goals against, second in power play, fourth in penalty kill. They're really doing it all right now. The only, I guess, big thing to talk about is Ovi and his 500th goal. It was great to see him get it. I thought it was awesome. Celebration was fantastic. Seeing him on the bench, jumping up, raising his fist was great. His mom crying. His dad was just taking it all in. He's easily the best member of the Caps organization in history. I think he's the best DC athlete since, you got to say, Sammy Baugh.
I think he's better than Sammy Baugh. I know he had his whole he was a revolutionary of sorts. He was one of a kind that you didn't really see in football at that time. But I don't know, Ovechkin's just dominating the game in such a way that, and he's still 31 or whatever he is. He's still got so much time left to get it done. So it's hard to say Ovechkin isn't going to surpass him pretty easily.
Yeah, definitely pretty soon, if not. Yeah, he's the 5th quickest to 500 goals, first Russian with 500 goals. And we talked about it last week with Nate. He's definitely within striking distance of the all-time record for goals, which is 894.
Which is pretty insane considering that this is considered a dead puck era. So I think we've all seen the goals adjusted for the average goals per game in the NHL or something. He would have something like close to 600 already, and he'd be well on his way. So
yeah. Well, yeah, you look at it, I think he just played in his 801st game, and he has 501 goals. That's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
They really are almost like video game numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, all right, so we can go talk about this real quick. How do you feel about the 500th goal celebration and whatnot, and them kind of building this up?
I think it deserved obviously to be celebrated. He's had such a storied career, and he's certainly earned it. I think there's just more to accomplish. It seemed like there was some build-up, and this was like his crowning achievement, or this was like somewhat of an end of a road, or like, oh, we finally made it to 500, and it wasn't, it could have been a little bit more reserved. I feel like that's a little hot takey and I feel like that's Ovechkin haterish to have this sort of mentality, but I think we should be saving this for when he scores a big goal in the playoffs, or when he's, raising the Stanley Cup, or whatever it might be. I think he's just got so much more to accomplish. And, from an individual standpoint, too, like, he's got 600 and probably 700 and hopefully even 800 in the future. So, in that sense, a lot of hockey blogs in town, I feel like they were a little much in your face about it. It was still really cool to see, but I just wasn't as excited as everyone ended up being, I think.
Yeah, no, I can see what you're saying. It was exciting to see him get it, but then I got home Sunday night, and it was 6-7 hours later after the game, and I'm still seeing the highlights on Twitter and people sharing videos. Like you're saying, it is cool, but at the end of the day, it's the people who argue like, well, would you rather have stats or would you rather have a championship?
Yeah. There were so many people though that were just like, you have to appreciate this. You must appreciate. And, that's cool. Like, I do appreciate, and I think a lot of hockey fans appreciate it too. It was so in your face in a way that rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
Okay, I can see that. It's not too much of a hot take, but I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, I guess they got Vancouver tomorrow. Weird. I saw a commercial tonight, and they talked about how the Caps. They said they welcome their West Coast rivals or Western Conference rivals, Vancouver. And I said, I've
Are
never
they
heard.
thinking of
I have never heard those.
maybe there was one year 5 or 6 years ago where they're the respective
It was
one
really
seed?
good, but
I think
yeah,
that was. Other than that, I've got nothing.
when Vancouver pops up, I don't think, oh, those are those Western Conference Caps rivals. Here we go.
I don't even know who that would be.
I don't. Yeah, I got nothing on that. I just thought that was
I
weird.
the Blackhawks, I guess, are a good team that we've had a couple good games with. The
Yeah,
Ducks, maybe just because of
Boudreaux.
Boudreaux.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was weird. Weird marketing by Comcast. They got them tomorrow. Then they're at Buffalo, home for the Rangers on Sunday, and then they're at Columbus. Fun fact: I just read that the Rangers game on Sunday, Tom Green will be there in person
Oh yeah,
Unleash the Fury. So that could be I don't know, anything with Tom Green could get real interesting real quick.
yeah.
I honestly didn't know he was still alive until I
That's
read
also a
that.
fair point.
Yeah. All right. Done with the Caps. We can talk about the Ravens. We didn't really get a chance to talk about them with Nate on last week and his Redskins having the loss, catching that L. Too bad. This just came out a few hours ago. Some I guess some Ravens news. Ed Reed is going to be the assistant defensive backs coach up in Buffalo under Rex Ryan. You got any thoughts about this?
Don't get me wrong. I feel bad about it. Like it doesn't sit well with me. But you gotta understand where Ed Reed's coming from. He's loyal to Rex Ryan to no end. When Billick was fired, Rex Ryan was supposed to be the shoo-in to get the job, and Ed Reed praised him unapologetically and tried to get him the job. There's clearly a strong relationship there. So you gotta understand that that's a big thing for Reed to go under Rex's wing like that. Given the secondary and how terrible it is, I would love to see Ed Reed come in, and I don't know if behind the scenes, if Harbaugh maybe reached out or Reed reached out or vice versa or anything like that, but it is what it is, and it's weird, but we got to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, he's from what I remember, he was a big Rex guy. It seemed like all the players who played under Rex were
For
big
sure.
Rex guys.
Defensive guys, 100%.
Yeah, and they were all big. He was a big Pagano guy too, I heard. So they were saying even if you always heard after the Super Bowl that Harbaugh kind of forced those vocal leaders out of the locker room, the Boldens and Bernard Pollard, guys like that, and Reed, who kind of, I guess maybe their voice was louder than Harbaugh's in the locker room.
I feel like they clashed during that year quite a bit, and all's well that ends well with the Super Bowl and everything. But if that they started 9-2 that season, and they fell pretty damn hard. Well, people. I also, this is a side note. I feel like people don't give that team a lot of credit because they think that was a stinky team. That was a team that started scorching hot, 9-2. They're the number one team, like all these power rankings. People are like, watch out for the Ravens, and they rightfully did fall hard in the following weeks in the regular season, but by no means were they a shitty team that like fell into a Super Bowl. They were a great team for 75% of the regular season and then hit a rough patch. But anyway, if that season continued when it hit the rough patch and crashed and burned the way it did, who knows what the relationship with Reed and Harbaugh would have been. So
yeah,
there's clearly something there, and it was mended. I think it was a testament to Harbaugh's coaching ability and just like his ability to control a locker room and such. He listened to his players a lot, including Reed, and just like heard their thoughts out and communicated well with them. So I think that they repaired that relationship. Whether or not they became more damaged when Reed retired, well, he didn't really retire, but I like to think that he retired and went on to the Jets. Rex Ryan, by the way. And the Texans, maybe that's a lingering effect, and maybe that's why he's not the secondaries coach or whatever it might be in Baltimore. That's why he's in Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm sure in a few years or however long Reed stays there, I'm sure after that or that there will be whispers of him coming back to Baltimore. I'm sure he wants to come back. It's not like Harbaugh would turn him down if he wanted to come back. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me to see him back at some point with some coaching thing, anything like that. We haven't talked since they had the State of the Ravens last Thursday. Any really newsworthy stuff out of there? Or do you have anything that you would have liked to add to the State of the Ravens?
I think Bisciotti came out and really gave his take on his organization philosophies, for better or worse, which is stability. And I can get behind that 100%. I think that's been a huge reason why the franchise has been so successful over the years. I guess like Dean Pease and Trestman both like won back their jobs somehow, even with all the injuries and shit. And if you look at the statistics, it kind of backs it up. Like the defense was actually pretty lights out in the last 7 or 8 weeks of the season.
Didn't they finish top 10 in the league? Didn't they in defense?
They were 8th in yards allowed.
Okay.
They were a good amount further back because of in points because of they didn't get any turnovers and the red zone defense wasn't quite as good as it's been in the past. But yeah, like a lot of statistics are there to back up not just that over the course of the year they were a good or at least decent defense, but that they improved a lot. And I think people are overlooking, Sharice Wright might have had a few bad plays, but Sharice Wright was actually a lot better cornerback than we've had the past 2 years as a starter. I won't say he's a knockout or anything, but he was better than what we've had. And Jimmy Smith came along, steadily throughout the year, and we'll see. A big takeaway is Ladarius Webb is moving to safety. That's one thing that really stood out.
Yeah,
so,
he's taking the Charles Woodson, D'Angelo Hall, right. Rod Woodson type of.
I can certainly see it. He seems to have the physicality and the mind for it, and I guess sort of a knack to ball hawk. I don't know, like that was something he called himself when he was talking like, "Oh, I'm making the change of safety. I'm gonna try to be a ball hawk. I think it really taps my ball hawk skills." I'm like, ball hawk. Okay.
That's basically him saying. That's him saying that I've gotten older and slower, and I can't really cover anymore.
It's pretty funny. Like 3 weeks before, he very direct quotes something along the lines of, "Yeah, I'm not moving to free safety. I'm nowhere near old enough to do that." And then 3 weeks later, he's like, "Yeah, I'm moving to free safety."
Yeah. So yeah, I'm guessing he kind of got pushed in that direction.
Yeah, it's rightfully so. He's lost a step. So, and I think that he's always had the assets to be a good safety anyway. And it's Kendrick Lewis and Will Hill weren't as good as they were supposed to be, and especially Lewis was a disappointment. So we'll see where that goes. And we've got Matt Elam back. You never know where that's going to go either. I know he was a real pain in the ass. Not this year, but the year before. But apparently he was the guy who was like going to make that big jump. He was going to turn things around this season before he got hurt in training camp. So
I was going to say, is this his make or break year? What's his contract? Is his rookie contract?
It's got to be his make or break year.
Yeah.
So other takeaways: Flacco's contract's got to get restructured. We touched on that with last week a little bit with Nate, but he was just actually just kind of being an asshole and didn't really know what he was talking about. It's going to get restructured. If it's not, I'll be shocked. I don't know why Ozzie would come out and say, we're at least going to explore, what we can and can't do if we don't restructure. No, he should have come out and been like, we have to restructure. He shouldn't have left open that possibility at all. But I do think he's going to restructure. It's in I think, Joe's best interests as well as obviously everyone else's. So that number, I'm not, a cap guy. That I don't know the ins and outs, but that number will be smaller. And then the two big elephants in the room, I think, Justin Tucker is a big one just because he's so beloved, and also he's really great at his job, by the way. But I don't see a huge concern there just because the money isn't going to be a huge number. It's just how it is with kickers. And then Clutch Yosemite is the really interesting one. So
yeah, on the radio, I listened on the radio. They 6 weeks ago they were talking about how he was pretty much gone. That at the end of the year he was going to be gone because then they gave Yonda a contract extension, correct?
They did.
Yeah, and they were saying that it was, they Ravens probably only had enough money for one or the other. And now they're saying, since they moved him to left tackle, that everyone's saying now, are we going to get rid of Monroe? And we just found our left tackle of the future. What do you think's what's gonna happen with that?
I really have no idea what's going to happen with that. I wish I did. I would love to re-sign him. I hope that we do. Just knowing that he can play both positions, I think that they should give him a shake at left tackle. I mean, they already gave him a shake, and he played pretty well. See, we're also writing off Eugene Monroe in this whole idea, and he hasn't been like a standout when he has played, but I also think that if he's still under contract and his contract's really not one that you can just shed easily, that we should give him a shake too. So I think with the versatility in mind with Osemele, before the idea was, you don't want to pay both your guards this much money because that's just not a good investment to invest in your interior linemen that much and not your tackles. But I think given the versatility, you can certainly do that and, just try to see where the Monroe thing plays out. And if not, bump Monroe out, move Osemele to left tackle, and then I think Urschel is ready and is certainly good enough to be a good left guard. Zuda is going to be back at center, so I think we've got options if we sign him, and we might have options if we don't. So
now here's what jumps to my mind about Osemele playing with the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think, at left tackle, however long he played there.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to have in his mindset, I want to make left tackle money next year? Because obviously left tackles he's going to make more than he would as a guard.
Therein lies the rub with the whole contract thing.
This is the Terrell Suggs, I'm a linebacker, not a defensive end thing a few years ago.
Sure,
right?
the Jimmy Graham tight end and my wide receiver type thing. It's going to be a whole thing. It's certainly driven his value up. I would expect that he explores the market a little bit, and if he explores, chances are better that he's going to go. But we'll see how it plays out. I know that he likes Baltimore. He likes the guys on the team, so it's really up in the air. We'll see. I do want to say that Ozzy pointed out, I think tackle specifically as a focus for the offseason. Not even in a re-sign type thing, but in what he might be looking at in the draft. You mentioned cornerback, and I believe he mentioned one more position. I'm trying to remember.
Wide receiver?
It wasn't what he did. He mentioned wide receiver in passing, and that we need more depth there, which I can agree with. But he mentioned one other position. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Gotcha.
I think it was pass rusher. So.
Yeah, it seems like the Ravens have a lot of holes to fill, and it seems like everywhere that the Ravens need to fill, that there are players in the draft that'll be there at 6.
I don't think there's anything particularly glaring, but there's certainly some minor holes that we could turn into, big assets long term. So
there's no major holes or anything, but there are definitely, it seems like there are definitely places that need to be, or positions that need to be upgraded, and there are guys
things to address.
Yeah, and there will be guys there at 6 who will obviously help them next year.
Yeah, for sure.
So all right, so how weird is this that a year ago you guys were getting ready to take on the Patriots, and now we're talking draft?
It's weird, but it's been 2 or 3 years now, actually. So that part's even weirder if you look at it big picture after making the playoffs for 5 years in a row before that. So I guess I do want to say we should feel a little humbled because it's been 2 out of 3 years now, and I think we do still have a right to be a little cocky and puff our chest out a little bit, but just know that, hey, we got to back it up sometimes, and it's been 2 out of 3 years. We got to bounce back next year. So
yeah. Plus, now I was going to say, with all this downtime, this just gives us more time to talk about Orioles baseball.
Sure.
What is it? Pitchers and catchers are under 40 days? I think it was 36.
I think, 36. If I'm doing the math, yeah.
Somewhere around there. It's creeping up, and the Orioles, they went this long without losing anyone to free agency in the offseason, but yesterday finally lost Chen to the Marlins. 5 years, $80 million with a vesting 6-year. So that could jump up to $94 million over 6. And then Parra, it was like minutes later, Parra to the Rockies, 3 years, $26 million. Two guys who I guess we kind of thought when the offseason started, we pretty much knew that they weren't coming back. I thought that Parra could come back, but it seems like within the Orioles brass, that wasn't really much a discussion.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Chen's number was way higher than I thought he was worth, but it was right at about what people projected for him, and maybe I saw something or something was in his numbers that I just didn't really appreciate. But I don't know.
Boris threw out that $100 million price tag, and which it almost seemed to turn everyone off. I didn't think he was going to get that money. He shouldn't have.
No, but I still don't think he should have.
No, and a 5 for 80 with that 16 a year. Could the Orioles have paid that? Yes. Would fans have been happy? No. I mean, it's not upgrading the team that much over last year. I mean, we had him. We saw what he could do last year, but it's not. I was fine with letting him walk. Give us the comp pick. Same thing with Parra. No comp pick there, but he came over, didn't really do what we expected him to do, what we wanted him to do, and they weren't going to shell out that type of money for him, which I was okay with. And then, so I guess this adds on to the Parra signing with the Rockies. With him going there, they're now shopping any or all of their outfielders. They got Cargo, Charlie Blackmon, and then Corey Dickerson. All 3 lefties. I'm guessing I think they can all play right field. So those are pretty much two of the spots that the O's need. They need a left-handed bat and they need a right fielder. So I did also see Rock reported that the Rockies want Gossman for. I'm guessing it would likely be Cargo, which I laughed very hard at that. There's no way that they're even going to think about. I hope that they don't think about shipping off Gossman for Cargo.
It feels good to at least have a pitcher that you can be like, nah, we won't trade him for Carlos Gonzalez. That's he ain't worth giving up. But yeah, no, I think they'd be crazy too. I'm sure we have at least 3 or 4 more years of club control over him, and Cargo's contract is 2 years, high 30s.
He's owed $37 million over the next 2 years.
Yeah, so
he's a free agent in 2018.
That ain't that's just not worth it. I did notice that Gonzalez's splits aren't that skewed, but the other 2 outfielders' home and away splits are very skewed between the 2. With the whole Colorado effect.
Yeah, I think Dickerson, he only played he didn't play that many games last year. He was hurt. But in 2014, he played in 131 games, I think, and he hit 24 home runs, 76 RBIs, but he hit over 100 points higher at home. That's outrageous.
That's pretty crazy.
Blackman's career average, he's 90 points higher he's 90 points higher at home.
It's just something you got to think about, which a lot of people think, oh, well, look at these guys. We don't have anybody even near enough to give up for. But this is a leverage ship. You can probably, if we try to get one of these guys, you could just point at those numbers, and then suddenly we're not giving away, a chance Cisco. We're giving away, somebody way less valuable. So
yeah, I agree with that. But also, do you think there's no way the Rockies can continue having these 4 guys on the team? Do you think they'll I think that plays into any of the other teams' favors because they're going to want to get rid of at least one of these guys. Do you think that there comes a point? I don't know if it's in spring training or before that where the Rockies say, you know what, screw it, let's just sell this guy for whatever.
See, I do think that's pretty much correct. I think they even have a 5th outfielder that's young that they want to try to get in the mix at some point. I don't remember his name, but the one thing that they could say to whoever tries to pull that leverage is just that Blackmon, all 3 of those guys seem to be injury prone.
Yeah.
And so, but they're all lefties. It's so weird.
And so is Parra.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really strange that they have, they have 4 left-handed outfielders.
It's strange that they went and made that signing. I do think that Parra's value is a lot higher in Colorado just because there's so much room to cover. in that outfield, but it didn't make a lot of sense for me for them to sign him, but it's not our problem.
Yeah, I was fine with it. It's the O's aren't spending the money. No, I also read that the Rockies wanted 100 or top 100 prospects for Cargo. I think that was in addition. That was an either or with the Gossman situation. But the O's don't have, and the O's don't have two top 100 prospects to give. So while Cargo he would be the guy that I want. I'm sure that you want him and every other Oriole fan.
Sure.
I don't think that's possible. I know Blackman was floated out last year, and I guess Dickerson now too is on the block, but he's not. Like you said, none of those guys have really shown that they can stay healthy. Cargo always has some weird injury. It seems that pops up.
Always an oblique or some weird.
I remember he had a growth on his finger like 2 or 3 years ago. And
yeah, that's right.
With that. Like, could you imagine the radio stations if we had an outfielder who was out for 4 months?
I've been to Denver. They're not getting too fired up about anything out there.
Yeah, exactly. They're chiefing, they're puffing. I don't know. We'll see. Like you said, maybe as it gets closer to the end of spring training or something, that the Rockies will buckle and say, all right, whatever, let's get scraps or whatever we can get for him. If it's a Bundy or a Harvey, I doubt it. But if they package together, I don't know, some younger guys, then we'll see. Speaking of Bundy and Harvey, I know Rock was down at the minicamp down in Sarasota this week. They reported that Bundy and Harvey were throwing next to each other. I was trying to think the last time that even happened, that both of them were healthy enough. So I guess that's
encouraging.
It is, yeah. They were saying I don't know if Bundy's going to be ready to start. I think he was only throwing at like 70% today, so I'm not sure if he'll even be ready for opening day.
That's fine.
Like we talked about last week. We'll hide him on the DL for a little bit.
Yeah, if we want him to pitch any innings that aren't taking up a roster spot, then we got to send him through the whole, simulated games and extended spring training system, and then the rehab, and then there's a limit to how long you can do that, but he has to be up by however long. So.
Yep, it's like we said again last week, Jason Garcia all over again.
Yep.
Just gotta see him toughen up, and we'll play with basically a 24-man roster. And then I also saw Fangraphs. They do their projections every year. They're pretty good. Sometimes they're a little off, but they had
always
the O's
sell us short.
Yeah, they had the O's projected at 76 and 86 with the current roster right now, which I thought that's a lot higher than they gave the O's a lot more wins than I thought they would have.
I guess I still just pegged them for an 81 team. I think they're a team with a good to very good offense and a
below average starting pitcher.
Yeah, below average starting pitching and a bullpen that's very good. So balance that all out. I think you've got an 81 win team, but numbers, Moneyball, nerds. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they were an 81 team last year, and that was with Davis and Parra and Chen and Pierce. So
and the pitchers pitching as bad as they could possibly pitch, though. That's the way I see it.
Tillman had a terrible year. Gonzalez had a terrible year. Ubaldo had some bad stretches.
And Gaussman apparently had bad luck according to those same numbers, so he should emerge this year. We'll see.
Yeah, I got big hopes for Gaussman this year. I think Ubaldo has a good year, too. I'm hoping that he can bounce back and kind of show that this contract's not really a bust.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe be a top of the rotation guy, a 1 or a 2, shit a 3, I guess. So it looks like we're going to go into the spring training with I guess Tillman's still the ace. It's not like they're not making a move for Fister. Or, I guess they've still been mentioned with Gallardo, but I don't want to touch that guy.
I'm so wrong.
Yeah.
It's interesting how there's no market for Justin Upton right now. It's just been just as quiet as it's really been with
Davis.
There's no way it happens, but in my mind, I'm like, this is as good as you're going to get somebody at this value on free agency. Go get Davis and Upton. Just fuck it. Just go for it.
I agree. I think how often are you going to have two guys like that just sitting out there? I'll be fine with the starting pitching if they can run out,
it'll figure itself out.
A lineup that features Upton and Davis plus Machado, Jones, Wieters, Scope, who's going to hit 30 home runs next year. You know, guys like that. That would be unbelievable. I'll win every game 10-9. Red Sox tried it last year, but shit. I always have a better bullpen than the Red Sox did last year.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I would love to see them try and do that. People talk about Upton doing the 1 year Nelson Cruz thing.
His agent came out and shot that down.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't see why he would. It's not like he's coming off a steroid suspension like Cruz was. I mean, he can get the money. It's just some mystery team is lying there, and they're gonna pop up. You know, kind of come out of nowhere.
Yep, and Cespedes is still out there too. That's interesting too.
It's so weird. And they were saying, who is it? The White Sox only wanted to give him or Upton. I think it was like a 3-year deal max. Again,
the pitching market versus the hitting market this year is bizarre. Chen getting $80 million 5 years with all these different interesting opt-outs and clauses and stuff, and nobody wants a piece of the sluggers anymore.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if his contract. It's going to be interesting to see what his contract finally ends up. If he's going to really regret shutting down that 150. You know, are the Orioles going to go back and offer him 120 or 115?
The more I see that offer sit there, if it's still sitting there, like supposedly it's not, but it totally is. The more I think like how Davis isn't even worth that. Like initially when they came out, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good offer, but they probably need to offer more. Now that it's just been radio silence from all fronts on Chris Davis, I think, oh shit, maybe we should be offering him way less than that. Maybe he's not even worth that much. So
I remember
mind games in May.
Yeah, Jared texted me when the O's offered him the 7 years, 150, and he said, you guys are going to get Davis back for that. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, no way. I said, someone's going to offer him 200. I said, there's no way that they're going to get him for that. And now it looks like that they could possibly get him for cheaper. So it's like you said.
Take the 150. Just take it. Just take it. Get it over with.
I hate this waiting game. Like it's been over 2.5 months since the season ended. And
yeah, Buck said he wouldn't be surprised if it goes to March. So
if it goes to March, I will. Oh my God, that will be terrible.
Yeah,
it's like waiting every day to get a text from your girlfriend that you're breaking up because it's gonna come at any minute.
It's kind of like getting your heart ripped out and then waiting 9 months for football season to start and then shooting yourself in the foot and getting injured week after week, suffering through 16 weeks of football and then having to wait another 8 months.
That's a damn good comparison. I like that. I'm very used to this. Yeah. All right. That'll wrap up this week. I think we're working on getting some guests in here. Still, we gotta iron that stuff out. Follow us on Twitter, me at BarstoolRDT, Banks at BarstoolBanks. Give us 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe, leave a comment, a review if you want. And, yeah, we will see you next week. Later, man.
Later.